The first time I met the so-called green tea girl was at my brother's engagement banquet. She wore a pure white dress, her long hair draped gently over her shoulders, and her big eyes shimmered with just the right amount of watery innocence. A sweet, delicate smile graced her lips, soft enough to make men instinctively want to protect her, but in the eyes of women, it was enough to make your teeth ache. At that moment, she stood extremely close to my brother, her slender fingers lightly tugging at his tie as if she had every right to touch him. And yet, she was not his fiancée. The real bride-to-be, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, was standing on the other side of him, trying her best to remain composed. When she noticed my gaze, the girl in white lowered her head shyly, her voice soft and tender. "I'm just helping him fix his tie." My brother didn't move away. Instead, he gave her a small, polite smile. I narrowed my eyes. During the banquet, I excused myself to go to the restroom. On my way back, she suddenly appeared around a corner and accidentally bumped into me. Her eyes widened, as if startled, and she reached out to steady herself on my arm. "Ooh, I'm so sorry. I was feeling a little dizzy." Her skin was soft, her grip light, almost fluttery. Then she leaned in slightly and whispered, as if sharing some harmless secret. "You must be Xiangyu, his younger sister, right? You're even prettier than I imagined." There was a subtle, almost invisible but hidden in her tone, the kind that made you feel inexplicably uncomfortable. I smiled faintly. "And you are?" She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear in a practiced, almost cinematic motion. "I'm just a family friend, but my brother and we've known each other for a long time." Her voice carried an undertone of familiarity, as though she were reminding me that she had some special place in my brother's past. When I returned to the banquet hall, I found her once again at his side, leaning in to whisper something that made him chuckle. On the other side, my sister-in-law sat stiffly, her fingers curled into her lap. I walked back to my seat, my mind already working. This girl wasn't here by coincidence. She came with an agenda, and if she thought she could play games with my family, she was about to learn exactly what she was dealing with. The engagement banquet was filled with polite laughter, clinking glasses, and the subtle hum of social niceties. Yet my focus was drawn over and over to the girl in white. No matter where my brother went, she wasn't far behind. When he chatted with elders, she would stand nearby with a gentle smile, ready to hand him a tissue or refill his teacup. When he spoke with business associates, she'd join the circle as if by chance, nodding attentively, asking just the right question to keep him in the spotlight. To the untrained eye, it was perfect social grace. To me, it was a deliberate performance, an unspoken claim over territory that didn't belong to her. When the cake was wheeled in, she found another opening. Just as the photographer aimed his camera at my brother and his fiancée, the girl in white swooped in with a laugh, pretending to fix the bride-to-be's dress. With practiced ease, she positioned herself between them, creating a picture where she stood right next to my brother as though she belonged there. Click! The flash went off, capturing the scene for all to see. I swirled the champagne in my glass, letting the bubbles calm the sharp retort on my tongue. I wasn't about to cause a scene, yet. But fate, it seemed, wanted to test me. Not long after, my brother excused himself to answer a phone call, leaving the girl free to approach me. "Your brother is truly lucky," she said, voice dripping with sugary sincerity, "to have such a devoted fiancée and such a caring sister." I raised an eyebrow. Caring? Not exactly the word most people use for me. She giggled, covering her mouth in that delicate, calculated way. "Oh, but I can tell. You're protective. That's such a rare quality these days." The way she said it made it sound less like praise and more like a subtle warning. I tilted my head. "You seem close to my brother?" Her gaze softened, as if she'd stepped out of a romantic drama. "He has always been there for me, like the older brother I never had." Older brother? Please. I'd seen the way her eyes lingered on him. It was nothing but sisterly. Before I could respond, my brother returned. She drifted to his side like a petal carried by the wind, slipping her hand into the crook of his arm as though it belonged there. And in that moment, I made up my mind. If she wanted to play her little green tea games, I'd show her exactly how a real player operates. The banquet ended without public drama, but the unease lingered like the aftertaste of cheap wine. When we returned home that night, my brother seemed in good spirits, oblivious to the performance I'd witnessed. Over tea in the living room, I leaned back in my chair and asked casually, "So, who's the girl in white?" He looked up from his phone. "An old friend. Why?" I hummed thoughtfully. "Just wondering. She seems very friendly with you." He frowned slightly. "Don't overthink it. She's harmless." Harmless? The word almost made me laugh. My brother, for all his intelligence in business, could be hopelessly naive in personal matters, especially where women like her were concerned. A few days later, I ran into her again. This time, it was in the lobby of my brother's company. She was holding a coffee tray with 2 cups and smiling at the receptionist like they were lifelong friends. "Oh, Xingyu, what a surprise!" She greeted me brightly as though we'd always been close. "Is it?" I arched an eyebrow. She giggled, ignoring my tone. "I'm just here to drop off some coffee for your brother. He's been working so hard lately." How considerate. Almost too considerate. Before I could reply, my brother's assistant appeared to escort her upstairs. She waved at me as she walked away, her steps light and graceful, like she was floating in her own little romantic subplot. I watched her go, the beginnings of a plan forming in my mind. If she wanted to be close to my brother, fine, but she'd have to go through me first. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. That weekend, my brother invited me to join him and a few friends for dinner. When I arrived at the restaurant, there she was, already seated beside him, chatting animatedly. Her dress was a pale pink this time, the color of cherry blossoms, and she had that same delicate air of fragility. "Xingyu," she exclaimed when she saw me. "Come sit next to me." I smiled sweetly. "Thanks, but I think I'll sit by my brother." Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second before she recovered. "Of course. You're so close. It must be nice to have such a strong sibling bond." Dinner was interesting. She laughed at all my brother's jokes, complimented his every opinion, and even picked food for him from shared dishes. I, on the other hand, watched quietly, letting her dig her own grave with every overly familiar gesture. By dessert, I had seen enough. If she wanted to play at being the perfect, innocent little flower, I was going to be the storm that uprooted her. I didn't strike right away. The trick to dealing with green tea girls is patience. You let them think they're winning. Let them relax enough to slip. That slip came a week later at a charity gala my brother's company sponsored. I arrived early, scanning the room until I spotted her. She was in a silver gown this time, hair in moose waves, with a diamond necklace that I was sure didn't belong to her. She was already beside my brother, her hand lightly resting on his arm as they greeted guests together. Anyone walking in would have thought she was the fiancée. I waited until she caught sight of me. Her smile was flawless as she approached. "Xingyu, you made it!" "Of course, I wouldn't miss seeing how close you and my brother have gotten." For a fraction of a second, her eyes flickered. Then she laughed. "We're just friends. You know that." I tilted my head. "Do I?" She opened her mouth, but a group of investors approached, and my brother was pulled away to speak with them. That left just the 2 of us. She sipped her champagne, leaning closer. "I can tell you're protective, but you don't need to worry. I'd never do anything to hurt your brother." Her tone was gentle, but her eyes, they were daring me to challenge her. So I did. "You know, in our family, we value honesty above all else. Secrets don't last long with us." Her lips curved, but she didn't reply. Instead, she drifted away to join another group, her laughter tinkling across the hall. I decided it was time to take things up a notch. Over the next few days, I gathered every little piece of information about her background, her so-called connections, the inconsistencies in her stories. It wasn't hard.
Green tea girls always leave a trail. When I finally confronted my brother, I laid it all out. At first, he was defensive. "You're overreacting. She's just being nice." But when I showed him the photos, her with another man's arm around her waist at a different event just last month, his expression changed. "He didn't know," he admitted quietly. "Exactly. And now, he did."
Once the evidence was in his hands, my brother didn't confront her immediately. He's not the type to explode in public. He prefers precision, like a scalpel instead of a hammer. That precision came at the next family dinner. Our parents were there, along with my sister-in-law's family, and, of course, the girl in white, invited under the pretense of being a longtime family friend. She arrived with a box of expensive tea as a gift, all smiles and polite bows, the picture of grace. But my brother? He was ice. He didn't pull out her chair, didn't engage her in small talk. He only answered when spoken to, and even then, his words were clipped. She noticed. I could see the faint tension in her shoulders as the evening wore on. Halfway through the meal, she tried to pour him tea, leaning in with that same practiced sweetness. He stopped her with a quiet, "Don't." The table fell silent. Her smile froze, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, I just thought—" "You thought wrong," he cut in. His voice was calm, but the finality in it was undeniable. I nearly smirked into my soup. After dinner, she pulled me aside, her voice low but sharp. "What did you say to him?" I widened my eyes in mock surprise. "Me? Nothing. Why?" "You're lying," she hissed, the sugar gone from her tone. "He's different, colder." I shrugged. Maybe he finally sees things clearly. Her hands clenched at her sides, and for a moment I thought she might actually drop the act completely. But then she took a deep breath, smoothed her hair, and forced a smile. "This isn't over," she said softly. I leaned in, my own smile razor sharp. "You're right, it's not. But you might not like how it ends." The "not over" part didn't last long. A few days later, word spread that she'd been spotted at a luxury hotel with the same man from those photos I'd shown my brother. The gossip spread fast, faster than I expected. It wasn't me who leaked it. At least, not directly. But when you know the right people in the right circles, sometimes all it takes is a whisper at the right ear during afternoon tea. By the end of the week, the story had made its way to my sister-in-law's family. They weren't amused. I was there when my brother called her in. He sat at his desk, the damning photos spread out like cards in a poker game. She walked in, still wearing that demure smile, until she saw what was in front of her. Her face drained of color. "I can explain—" "No," my brother said coldly. "You can't." She tried anyway, her words stumbling over each other in a rush of half-truths and fake tears. But my brother wasn't swayed this time. "Leave," he said finally. "Don't contact me again." The tears stopped instantly. For a moment, the mask slipped entirely, and I saw the real her, sharp, calculating, furious. "This is her doing," she spat, pointing at me. "She's been against me from the start." I leaned casually against the wall. True, and I was right. Her eyes narrowed into slits, but she said nothing more. She turned on her heel and walked out, her expensive heels clicking sharply against the floor. When the door closed, my brother exhaled slowly. "I should have listened to you earlier." I smiled. "You will next time." After she was gone, the house felt lighter, like someone had thrown open a window after a long, suffocating winter. My sister-in-law's smile returned, slowly at first, but each day it grew warmer. Even my parents, who had been politely tolerant of the family friend, seemed more relaxed during meals.
As for my brother, he buried himself in work, but I caught him smiling more often, especially when his fiancée was around. There was no more awkwardness, no more third party hovering like a shadow between them. One evening, as we sat together in the living room, he handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a bracelet. Simple, elegant, and clearly expensive. "What's this for?" I asked. "For watching my back, even when I didn't think I needed it." I grinned, slipping it onto my wrist. "That's what sisters are for. And next time, maybe listen before the storm hits." He chuckled. "Next time, I'll listen." We never spoke of her again. But sometimes at certain parties, I'd catch whispers of her name attached to some new scandal, always with a different man, always with that same too sweet smile. I didn't feel sorry for her. In our world, masks can only hide you for so long before they crack. And when they do, the fall is swift. In the end, she wasn't the first green tea girl to try her luck, and she certainly wouldn't be the last. But she'd learned the hard way. If you mess with my family, you mess with me. And I don't lose.